We went out, I was working for Pittsburgh Des Moines Steel, and we were unloading steel. We were putting up tanks. And the crane operator, I didn't know it at that time, but came in about half drunk. And I was a hookup man. I hooked up this load, raised it, and sent it away from me. He took it away from me, and I turned around, and I bent over, and I was taking and hooking my cables up for another pick. When he set that one down, he would come back, and I would hook him up again. But he let that load drift back, and when he stopped it, it swung up, and our cables, we didn't have just chokers. We didn't have a bar between them. We just had two befores in between them, and they slipped together, and 3,200 pounds came down on they were the sway bars for the struts on the tank, and they came down and hit me across the back and crushed 3 of the vertebrae in my back, and they said I was standing stiff-legged. 3,200 pounds, and it shoved my ankle down into my foot, and it was the 5th day of December of 52, yeah. And they said when I fell, my foot stayed still and we just twisted it. So they took me to the hospital, and they had me stretched out, stretching my back because of my vertebrae in my back. And then they opened all that up and put all new bone in and said I would have a stiff ankle, which was fine. And they put a cast on, it was too tight, and it cut all the circulation off, and all my toes turned black, and they amputated them. And then they put another cast on, the same thing happened, and they took the rest of my foot off. All I had was the heel. And that's when I said that was enough of that hospital. I signed myself out, and she went up from Dayton, Ohio. She went back to East Liverpool, and Mom came down. I signed myself out, and she got an ambulance, took me to the train, and took me to Steubenville on the train, and then the ambulance that buried Dad was there to pick me up and took me on home to East Liverpool. And the doctor that brought me into the world was the one that took care of my leg, and it was all down there, and he gave me pills about the size of my thumb for 7 days. I had a hard time swallowing, then he just cut it off at below the knee, getting the gangrene that was in there out of my upper part of my leg, and then he just cut it off 6 inches below the knee. And then he let me go home, and I was at home, but I had a board underneath with it all strapped down, and it got hurting, so I loosened it up and let it bend a little bit. And when I went back in, he found out that, well, when he looked at it, he started straightening it out, and it hurt. Back into the hospital I went. I said, how long do I have to stay here? He said, until we can make that leg go straight. So I'd push on it and hurt it, and I finally got it to where it was straight, boy. And then he let me go home, and he said, don't loosen it no more. So I didn't. Almost 2 years before I got a leg, I was on crutches. Now, something like that happens, they fit them for a leg. But I was 2 years on crutches.